Welcome to the Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. Major League Baseball is appalled by Georgia's election reform requiring ID to vote. They somehow think it's racist, but it's apparently okay to work with the CCP, who tortures millions of Uyghur Muslims. In 1777, George Washington received a vision of America from an angelic visitor at Valley Forge. Let us revisit the three great perils that were revealed to him. Okay, my friends, let us take a closer look together. Georgia election reforms have sparked a frenzy among Democrats and some voter rights groups. Since Georgia passed the election reform bill, civil rights groups including the New Georgia Project and Black Votes Matters criticized Georgia-based companies like Delta and Coca-Cola for not doing enough to speak out against the reforms. On March 31st, Delta and Coca-Cola, the two largest Georgia companies, reversed course from their previous silence. They both called the new legislation unacceptable. On Friday, Major League Baseball, the MLB, announced it'll move its All-Star game from Atlanta in protest of the election reforms. MLB Commissioner Robert Manfred Jr. said the decision was the best way to, quote, demonstrate our value as a sport. Shouldn't sports be separated from politics? But some Democrats, including Joe Biden, are happy with the MLB's move. Biden told ESPN that he thinks the professional athletes are, quote, acting incredibly responsibly.
I think today's professional athletes are acting incredibly responsibly. I would strongly support them doing that. Imagine passing a law saying you cannot provide water or food for someone standing in a line to vote. Can't do that? Come on. Or you're going to close a polling place at 5 o'clock when working people just get off?
Wait, did Joe Biden actually read the Georgia's new election integrity law? Because nothing in the Georgia's new law prevents voters in line from getting water. Here's what the new law says. No person shall solicit votes in any manner or by any means or method, nor shall any person distribute or display any campaign material, nor shall any person give or offer to give or participate in the giving of any money or gifts, including but not limited to food and drink to an elector, a voter. A footnote on page 71 of the bill states, this code section shall not be construed to prohibit a poll officer from making available self-service water from an unattended receptacle to an elector waiting in line to vote. The purpose of this provision is to prevent voter solicitation, such as using water, food, and gifts to urge voters to vote for certain candidates. Biden also falsely claims Georgia's new law ends voting at 5 o'clock when working people are just getting off work. The fact is, on Election Day in Georgia, polling places are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you are in line by 7 p.m., you are allowed to cast your ballot. Nothing in the new law changes those rules. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich says Biden has lost credibility for having lied about the Georgia election law.
These are just plain lies. This isn't complicated. You go to the bill, you look at the bill, you can vote on Sunday. They lied and said you couldn't. You can vote earlier. They lied and said you couldn't. You can get water in line. They lied and said you couldn't. And I think President Biden's credibility is in tatters. He reads these things that his staff writes. He has no idea whether or not they're true. And in the case of the Georgia bill, the things that President Biden said are flatly false, and he owes the people of Georgia an apology.
Like Gingrich said, there's nothing complicated about the new law. This is not something to be mistaken about. He reads these things that his staff writes. He has no idea whether or not they're true. On the other hand, the Democrats didn't reveal the full implications of their election reform bill H.R. 1 to Americans. Gingrich warns, when people learn what is in H.R. 1, they are going to be angry at being totally misled. The MLB commissioner said having the All-Star game move out of Georgia would demonstrate their values. Apparently, values represented by the Chinese Communist Party align better with what the MLB believes. Just one day before the boycott, the MLB extended its contract with Chinese telecommunication giant Tencent. The MLB will continue to be aired on the Chinese streaming platform. Tencent has significant ties to the CCP. It's one of the Chinese companies that temporarily dropped the NBA games as a form of censorship after Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey spoke out in support of the pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. The CCP has locked up more than 1 million Uyghurs in the concentration camps and used violence and torture to make them yield to communist ideology. But MLB standards, that's not racism, but the new Georgia election law is. The new law sets stricter voter ID requirements on absentee voting. It requires a Georgia driver's license or a state-issued or state-approved ID in order to vote by mail. Which part of the new requirements prevent black people from voting? It's still a mystery to the voters. Last week, top executives from several large corporations openly took a stance against the election reforms. In response to the strong opposition, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp told reporters on Saturday, "Secure, accessible, fair elections are worth the threats. They are worth the boycotts as well as the lawsuits." Major League Baseball caved to the fear and lies from the liberal activists. They ignored the facts of our new election integrity law, and they ignored the consequences of their decision on our local community. It's very true, if there's no opposition for the things you do, it's probably not something worth fighting for. The more righteous your fight, the greater the opposition you will encounter. So what can Americans do to let their voices be heard on this matter? Boycott them back. Over the weekend, former President Trump urged Republicans and conservatives to boycott Major League Baseball and a number of corporations that are caving to the political left about the Georgia election reforms. Trump said, for years the radical left Democrats have played it dirty by boycotting products when anything from that company is done or stated in any way that offends them. It is finally time for Republicans and conservatives to fight back. We have more people than they do. At this moment in time, America is in the midst of a big battle, and nothing less than the fate of the nation hangs in the balance. And with the future yet to be determined, why don't we draw some inspiration from the past? Over 200 years ago, in 1777, the founding father, George Washington, had visions of America shown to him by an angelic visitor at Valley Forge. At the time, the Continental Army was facing its darkest hours and most difficult challenges. The bitter cold winter, disease, and starvation were crushing the Army and all hopes for independence. In the vision, God revealed to George Washington 3 great perils on American soil. He was told that America was going through the first peril at that time, which was the American Revolution. An older soldier named Anthony Sherman heard the story from Washington's own lips. Decades later, in 1859, Sherman passed down the vision to a writer, Wesley Bradshaw. Sherman told Bradshaw that the nation would soon see the vision verified by a second war in America, which came to pass 2 years later when the Civil War broke out in 1861, about 100 years after the Revolutionary War. Sherman's account of the story was reprinted by the National Tribune in December 1880 and later by the Stars and Stripes in December 1950. But not many Americans today know about the story of one of our founding fathers. In light of Easter and looking towards the future with hope, I feel it's the right time to share with you Washington's vision and prophecy about America. I'm sure you will find some hope, inspiration, and encouragement from his unusual experience at Valley Forge. In 1859, Sherman was 99 years old. He called Bradshaw to go into the Independence Hall with him, for he wanted to tell this episode in Washington's life. Sherman told the writer that the darkest period they had was when Washington retreated to Valley Forge after several reversals. Sherman often saw tears coming down the commander's cheeks as he was deeply worried about the condition of his soldiers. Washington often prayed in secret for aid and comfort. One day afternoon in 1777, Washington was in his apartment sitting at the table preparing a dispatch. When he looked up, he saw a phenomenally beautiful lady standing before him. He was very surprised because he had given strict orders not to be disturbed. He asked the lady why she was there, but after repeating the question a number of times, the mysterious visitor remained silent except for a slight raising of her eyes. A stream of strange sensations suddenly ran through him. Washington was unable to speak, move, or think. The angelic lady became more airy as she showed him the first great peril. The voice said, Son of the Republic, look and learn. The visitors extended an arm eastward. Washington then saw a heavy white mist at some distance rising layer upon layer. As the mist cleared, a vast plain with all the countries of the world appeared. Massive waves of the Atlantic are rolling and tossing between Europe and America. The mysterious voice rises again, Son of the Republic, look and learn. At this moment, a dark shadowy being like an angel is floating in midair between Europe and America, scooping water out of the ocean and into the hollow of each hand. The angel sprinkles water upon America with his right hand and Europe with his left hand. Immediately, a cloud rises and slowly moves to the west until it envelops America in its folds. Sharp flashes of lightning are gleaming through the cloud. Washington hears the crying of the American people. This scene is interpreted as the War of Independence. A second time, the angel scoops water from the ocean and sprinkles it out again as before. The dark cloud is drawn back and the massive waves sink from view. The third time, Washington hears the mysterious voice saying, Son of the Republic, look and learn. He casts his eyes upon America, where villages and towns and cities spring up one after the other until the entire land is covered. The voice says, Son of the Republic, the end of the century comes, look and learn. This time, the shadowy angel turns his face to the south. From Africa, an ill-looking specter is approaching America. It flew slowly and heavily over every town and city. Wherever he touches, the inhabitants set themselves in battle gear against each other. At this moment, Washington sees a bright angel. A crown of light rests on the brow of the angel, which has the words Union etched on it. The angel bears the American flag, and he places the flag between the divided nations and says, Remember, you are brethren. Instantly, every inhabitant puts down their weapons and they become friends once more. The second scene is interpreted as the Civil War. Now comes the third peril, the most dreadful one. Washington hears the mysterious voice saying again, Son of the Republic, look and learn. The dark angel places a trumpet to his mouth, blows 3 distinct blasts. He then takes water from the ocean and sprinkles it upon Europe, Asia, and Africa. From each of these continents rises thick black clouds that soon merge into one. Throughout the thick clouds, a dark red light is gleaming, by which Washington sees legions of armed men. These men, moving with the cloud, march by land and sail by sea to America. At this time, America is buried in the cloud. Washington dimly sees these vast armies devastate the whole country. As he listens to the thundering of cannon, the clashing of swords, and the shouts and cries of millions in combat, Washington again hears, Son of the Republic, look and learn. As soon as the voice disappears, the dark angel places his trumpet once more to his mouth and blows a long and fearful blast. Instantly, a light as from 1,000 suns shines down from above and pierces and breaks into fragments the dark cloud, which envelops America. At the same moment, the angel with the crown of Union descends from the heavens along with the legions of white spirits. They join the Americans who are on the brink of surrender. The American people once again take their courage and close up their broken ranks. The battle is renewed with divine intervention. Once again, the same voice says, Son of the Republic, look and learn. The shadowy angel for the last time scoops water from the ocean and sprinkles it upon America. The dark cloud rolls back together with the armies it brought. The inhabitants of the land have won the battle. The bright angel plants the sky blue standard he had brought amid the villages, towns, and cities and cries loudly, While the stars remain and the heaven sends down dew upon the earth, so long shall the union last. The angel places his union crown upon the standard and people kneel down saying, Amen. The scene quickly began to fade and dissolve. At last, only the rising curling vapor that Washington first saw was left, but then it also disappeared. Washington found himself once more gazing upon his mysterious visitor. She said in the same voice Washington had heard before, Son of the Republic, what you have seen is thus interpreted. 3 great perils will come upon the Republic. The most fearful for her is the third. But the whole world united shall not prevail against her. Let every child of the Republic learn to live for his God, his land, and union. With these words, the vision vanished. Washington got up from his seat and felt he had been shown a vision of the birth, the progress, and the destiny of the United States. So what's the third peril in the vision? We aren't sure yet, but what America is experiencing today, where globalist and hostile communist and totalitarian regimes are threatening the leader of the free world, America, it seems to appear our generation is the one to confront the third and the most dreadful peril for the Republic. But don't lose hope and do what you believe is right. Remember what the angelic visitor said at the end. The most fearful for her is the third, but the whole world united shall not prevail against her. Let every child of the Republic learn to live for his God, his land, and union. And that's it for today, my friends. Please like and share, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Check out these playlists right here for more eye-opening content. You can also follow me on YouMaker, Gab, Parler, and Telegram. Don't forget, please sign up for the email list so that we can stay in contact with each other. Thank you all, and I'll see you next time.